Hi, my name is Darla K. Anderson, and I'm here interviewing the amazing Brett Parker, who I've known for many, many years. And as a friend and a professional collaborator, we worked together on almost all of the films that I produced, and not the least of which, my last film while I was at Pixar, which was Coco, where I was fortunate enough to get an Academy Award. And so, without further ado, Brett Parker. Why don't you introduce yourself and say who you are?
Hi, Darla. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to get to be interviewed by you today about the short film that I directed called Pete, and it's an animated short based on a true story about my wife.
It's such a good film. So let's start with the questions. Brett, to begin with, let's talk about the inspiration. Like, what inspired you? What made it so that you had to make this short film?
Well, the inspiration is kind of easy in a way because it is about Pete, my wife, and our film is based on a moment that happened when she was a kid. And she is the consummate storyteller. So this is a story that I had heard many, many times. Um, but the more we started to talk about it, the more we realized that there was really kind of a broader story to tell within that moment. And it was a story about identity and change and acceptance. And so the more we kind of felt that and leaned into it, we just knew we wanted to make the story.
It's such an emotional film and so charming and gorgeous. Why do you think that animation was the best medium to tell this story in particular?
It's interesting because a lot of people have asked that, and I think we landed on animation for a couple of reasons. One, because it's a childhood memory, there was something about the medium of animation which just felt like it lent itself to that. We even kind of leaned into that with the vignetting of
Mhm.
the image, which sort of felt like a memory then instead of a current day event. Um, and also, I think that animation at its best can really help. Um, it can really help facilitate telling stories that can
Mhm.
otherwise be difficult
Right.
to tell. So instead of like Pete is a gender identity story, right? So in our current political climate in the United States, that's something that maybe could have pushed people off or
Mhm.
and instead we've had an amazing overwhelmingly positive response to the film, and I think part of that is because it's animated and because animation can really help bridge a gap and make films accessible that maybe wouldn't otherwise be.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think there's two things. There's an innocence about animation too for all ages. And also it's completely disarming. And you're unconsciously, your whole spirit and heart opens up when you're watching it. And I agree with that. How did you guys, or how did you as director land on the visual style for it?
So I was really inspired by the ink and watercolor of Winnie the Pooh. I mean, part of it was, we grew up, the story takes place in 1975. So we were really inspired by like the colors and the visuals of 1975. But I was really inspired by the ink and watercolor look of Winnie the Pooh. And then also Calvin and Hobbes, which is a little bit later, but they're amazing watercolors. And so I really wanted, I felt like could really marry the animation with the look of the film with that look. So we also then flattened kind of, it's done in 3D, but we tried to sort of flatten the animation so it felt more like a watercolor coming to life versus 3D and sort of tried to marry those ideas with the story.
That makes total sense. It's like both super fresh and also nostalgic at the same time. And so it's like the perfect look. It draws you right into the moment in time. And it's also super fresh. I love it. Can you talk a little bit? You had, animation's so collaborative always. Can you talk a little bit about some highlights of the collaborators who worked on this film?
Well, it's kind of amazing actually because Pete was made through the Pixar Cooperative,
Mm,
which basically means that if you have an idea to make a film and Pixar signs off on it, then you have access to the resources there, which is both the technology, right? But more importantly, it's the people, which made this film possible, right? But so every single person who worked on the film volunteered their time, which to me is incredible and overwhelming, really, because filmmaking, as you know, is just a collaboration. And so everyone just brought so much to it. I mean, Tom Gately did all of the character designs, and we even had engineers designing tools for us. It was just, yeah, it was an amazing labor of love.
amazing. And in that vein, what would you consider the biggest artistic or production challenge? I mean, there's so many probably, but what's is there? Can you sum it up to one of the biggest ones?
So probably two. I mean, if we were to boil it down, um, the first one is because everyone was volunteering, and we wanted to keep like everyone was really passionate about the film, which was great, but I really needed to keep that energy going, and it's really hard, someone who's volunteering to be like, "Hey, can you volunteer a little faster?"
Yeah.
Um, so that was tricky. Um, and the other thing was actually developing the look. The ink and watercolor is something that's completely outside the Pixar pipeline and wheelhouse. And so we had to get scrappy and really develop all of that look ourselves. And that, really only started to come together at the last minute. There was definitely more I wanted to do, but I am really happy the way it turned out.
Oh my God, it's so gorgeous. And, you got so many superstars helping you out. That's just your good karma of all the years that you've been working on all these films. So just amazing. At the end of the day, what do you want the audiences to take away from after they've watched film? What's the big takeaway?
You know, Pete and I have talked a lot about this, and like I said, I think we've felt really lucky with the overwhelmingly positive response that we've received from the film. And I think most importantly for us, it's that when kids are left on their own, acceptance
Mhm.
and inclusion comes easy. Um, and that we really hope that Pete can help continue to inspire change and erase the notion that difference equals exclusion.
Well said. Super well said. Well, I think that's the end of the interview. Thank you so, so much for taking the time. And I just guess, I know I actually am not biased. I'm harder on myself and those that I love. And this film is so, so good. I cry every single time I watch it. It with happy tears and emotional tears, and I'm fully drawn in. So I'm just so proud of you. I'm so grateful for your team, and I'm so grateful for how Pixar is so generous and supports these kinds of endeavors. It's wonderful. So congratulations, Brett. And here we go.
Thank you.